India is a land that today has a population in excess of 720 million people. We usually think of India as being an old country, and of course it is, but politically it only gained its independence in 1947. Historically famous is the Red Fort in the city of Delhi. Prime Minister Nehru used to address as many as 2 million people from this place. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation, was assassinated here only 4 months after India gained her independence. Later, this very simple monument was erected in his memory, and to it daily there come devoted Hindus to say their mantrams or prayers, as this man is doing here. The most beautiful sight that I've seen anywhere in the world, the Taj Mahal. It took 20,000 workmen 20 years to build this out of marble. It was built by a Muslim emperor, Shah Jahan, in memory of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal. We have all kinds of animals out in India. Here are elephants. They are caught, tamed, and then used for heavy labor. Here in America, we'd probably use a bulldozer, but out in India, an elephant is used, as for example in this logging camp. And then there are monkeys. We have them everywhere. Here is one little fellow busily scratching himself. This is a very late model camel cart making its way down the road to Allahabad. It's carrying crops inside to the bazaar or marketplace. Very common to us in India is the deadly cobra snake. This is one of 4 cobras caught in our backyard in one afternoon. Mr. Moon saw this professional snake catcher at work and asked if he could take a picture of one of them striking, and that's what he's doing right here. Many times we have sung that song, "Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Thou art the potter, I am the clay." Well, here is the village potter at work. He turns the wheel and begins to shape the clay in the center of it. It will take on any form he wants it to. Actually, he is making a water pot. Later, it will be cut off the wheel, baked in the kiln, and sold in the bazaar. India is a land of tremendous contrast, great wealth on one side and great poverty on the other. Here's the Maharaja of Pithapuram, an exceedingly wealthy man. He must have owned 10 or 15 expensive automobiles. Then, in contrast, one of the tens of thousands of blind beggars who are scattered all over the land of India, begging for money from those who pass by. This is just one of the palaces of the Maharaja of Mysore. At night, it looks like something out of a fairy tale. And then, in contrast to this great wealth, here are village Christians as they toss mud balls along as they are going to build a parsonage for their pastor. India is a land known for its famous religious leaders. Best known to you and me is Dr. E. Stanley Jones, a man who was greatly used of God in reaching thousands of people for Jesus Christ in India as well as in this land and around the world. But the best known religious leaders of India are the Hindu priests. For example, this man seated here at his temple, caste mark on his forehead. The second largest religion in India is Islam. Here's the great Muslim mosque in Delhi, the Jama Masjid. About 35,000 Muslims come here every Friday for prayer. But the best known religious landmarks are the Hindu temples, some out in very isolated areas of India. They are scattered all across the nation. Many pilgrims will come walking many hundreds of miles, bringing their offerings to the idols within. Now, don't think that Hinduism is a religion in the past, because it isn't. Here is a very modern Hindu temple in the city of Delhi, the Birla Temple, built with all the modern means of architecture, and yet inside are all the same old idols. However, the loveliest of all, as far as we are concerned, a village church, one of the 17 located in Mr. Moon's district. This is one in the village of Antharm, just finished in 1954. Now the school children knew that you were going to be here, so they lined up to give you a good warm welcome, and we want you to come to visit us in our village of Tandur, written here in Hindi, English, Telugu, Urdu, and Canarese. Ted and Jack give you a good Indian salam. At the age of 7, they were sent off to boarding school. Well, come with us out to Tandur where we live. There's no more common means of transportation anywhere in India than the bullock cart as it makes its way slowly down the road at the close of day. India is a land of great darkness physically. Here, coming out of this man's ankle, all the white is a guinea worm. It will take about 6 weeks for it to come out completely. If it breaks off beforehand, it will die inside and paralyze the muscle, and the man will be crippled for the rest of his life. This little fellow had a severe stomach ache. His parents thought he had evil spirits, took a red-hot poker and thrust it in his side to let the evil spirits come out. I complained because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. Every day in Tandur, we saw this man making his way through life on 4 stumps, able to smile in spite of it, and carrying all his possessions in the tin can on top of his head. People who live in great darkness physically. Whenever we went out to the village of Jangam, we met this man in the advanced stages of leprosy. Out along the road, we stopped to talk with him. About a month later, we missed him, and they said, "Oh, didn't you know he died last week?" Note the great pain and suffering written on his face. But if our people live in darkness physically, far greater is their darkness spiritually. For it is to idols such as these that our people come, seeking forgiveness for their sins and trying to find God's peace in their hearts. Or else they'll go to the bazaar, purchase images such as these, take them to their homes and say their prayers to them every day. Down in the city of Mysore, there's the famous great black bull Nandi, which is known all over the nation. At festival time, thousands and thousands of devout Hindus will bring their gifts and offerings to this great black bull that is their god. In every Hindu village there is a temple. Here is a mother and her children. As they come to one which is so typical, we don't know why she comes, except that she has some restlessness in her heart, and so knowing nowhere else to turn, she comes to the temple to decorate these her gods, which have been carved out of wood, in the hope that she may be able to gain their favor and that perhaps they will hear and answer her prayer. Then the Hindu priest nearby, dusting off his altar with the phallic symbol and beginning his prayers, which will last for many hours throughout the day. Notice the caste mark on his forehead. Not far from where we lived, a smallpox epidemic broke out, so they called in this man, the devil dancer. He danced about for several hours, offering his prayers to Yelama, the goddess of smallpox, asking Yelama to take the epidemic away. But somehow Yelama did hear his prayers, and in desperation he cut his arm. There you see the blood flowing down, believing that if he suffered enough physically, he might be able to attract the attention of the gods. In the city of Bangalore, a great juggernaut cart is being pulled along through the streets. The inside of this cart is decorated with idols. Idols like this. Walking alongside of the cart, this man with a black rubber hose is trying to keep the crowd back from it. The most common offering in India is the coconut. It is broken on the ground and then is offered up to the sacred flame that burns inside the cart. And here are 3 Hindu ladies coming, bowing their heads, saying their prayers to the idols within. Down at the great Tinthani Jatra, a Hindu festival not too far from where we lived, is held. Here are the high priest and his little grandson. Notice the needles in their hands, for in a few minutes they will take those needles and they will thrust them through the skin of their throats. Then with those needles protruding from both sides of their throats, they will dance wildly, almost hysterically about, crying out their mantrams or prayers to their gods in an attempt to grasp the attention of the gods. And then it becomes the little boy's turn. I've had people say to me, "Why do you go to India? They have their own religion. They're getting along all right. They're happy as they are." But if that's happiness, I don't want it, and I know you don't either. thank God that we can know Jesus Christ if our hearts are sincerely open to Him. Now the grandfather pulls the needle from out of his lower lip. Look at the faces of the villagers in the background as they look on in awe and reverence, for this is our concept of godliness and holiness.